Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you are a working adult navigating modern life, you've probably heard that bit of relationship advice, right? The one that sounds something like, oh, just make time for one another.
Yeah, it's super vague, isn't it? It sort of assumes time is this thing you can just, I don't know, conjure up. But the sources we looked at this week, they show a completely different reality.
A reality of scarcity, it sounds like.
Definitely. We're talking about a chronic lack of resources. There's global data showing working adults feel way more pressed for time now than, say, previous generations did. And get this statistic. Between 1975 and 2000, quality time between spouses actually dropped by 26%.
26%, wow. So that advice to just make time, it really ignores the economic crunch we're all feeling.
Exactly, it's flawed.
So our mission today is to get past that vagueness. We've dug into 7 related studies looking at how allocating resources strategically, specifically, using money to, well, buy time, how that actually plays out for relationship satisfaction.
And we're pairing that research with a look at the love languages framework because, the science is starting to show buying time is only maybe half the puzzle.
Right, knowing how to actually use that time is the other half.
Mm-hmm. And the initial data here is, well, it's pretty interesting. The core idea we looked at is straightforward, spending money on what they call time-saving purchases.
Like getting meals delivered or maybe house cleaning services, that sort of thing.
Exactly, things that buy you out of chores. The hypothesis is that doing this actively predicts better relationship satisfaction.
Okay, so let's unpack that core evidence because the sources, they seem pretty clear. This isn't just, wishful thinking.
No, the evidence is surprisingly robust, and it points in one direction. One study used this huge UK longitudinal survey, track couples for 11 years.
11 years, that's a long time.
It is, and they found that increases in spending on these time-saving things predicted long-term, sustained increases in how satisfied people felt in their relationships.
Okay, but I can hear the skeptics saying, well, hang on, happier couples probably have more money anyway, right? So they can afford more services. It's just correlation.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the researchers really tried to nail that down. Another study basically replicated the finding, but they did it with a daily diary method over 6 weeks.
Daily check-ins.
Yep. And what both the long-term and the daily studies showed consistently was what they call a unidirectional effect, meaning they found evidence for causation. Basically, buying the time predicts future satisfaction. But feeling satisfied doesn't significantly predict buying more time later on.
Ah, okay, so it's not just happy people buying fancy services.
Right. It suggests that actually outsourcing those chores, those burdens,
Yeah.
it really can be a tool to actively improve the relationship.
That really shifts how you think about it. It's less luxury spending and more strategic investment. Now, the sources also mention that this investment works particularly well under certain conditions. Absolutely. The benefits weren't the same for everyone. They found the boost was strongest for people in dual-income couples who were already reporting higher levels of daily stress.
Okay, that makes sense. And this points towards something called the conservation of resources model, CR.
Yeah, the CR model. It sounds a bit academic, I know.
Break it down for us. What's the core idea?
Think of it like this. We're all constantly trying to get and protect our key resources, energy, money, and definitely time. When stress is high, maybe you're juggling demanding jobs, family stuff, your time resource gets seriously depleted. You feel burnt out.
I think a lot of people can relate to that feel.
For sure. So time-saving purchases in the CRR view are like a resource conversion. You use your financial resource money to get back the resource you lost, time.
Okay, you're trading cash for hours.
Exactly. And that influx of time helps the couple recover. It buffers them against that daily stress, which is why the effect is strongest when couples are already feeling the pinch.
All right, so we've used money to buy back some hours, maybe buffered some stress. But as you mentioned, and the sources really emphasize this, just having free time appear on a calendar.
Right.
Well, that's not the whole story, is it?
Not at all. The key mechanism seems to be that the benefits really kick in only when couples manage to translate that regained time into actual quality time together.
So how do we define quality time? Because study 5 apparently looked into this, right? Went beyond just counting the minutes.
Yeah, they really drilled down on it. And interestingly, just spending more time doing, say, active leisure together, like going for a run, or even just spending less time on chores, that wasn't the main predictor of satisfaction by itself.
Oh, so what was it then? What made the difference?
It was much more subjective. It boiled down to the emotional experience. Quality time was really defined by 2 main things: feeling a genuinely positive mood when you're together,
Okay.
and feeling like you have perceived support from your partner during that time. It's about the feeling, the connection.
So hiring that cleaner is great, but if you just use the free hour to, I don't know, argue about finances,
You've kind of missed the point, yeah. The emotional context is everything.
that's a really useful definition. Now, what about the purchases themselves? Study 3 looked at specific characteristics that made them more likely to lead to this quality time, right?
Mm-hmm. They found 3 things stood out. First, maybe unsurprisingly, was simply the total number of hours saved. More time back means more potential.
Makes sense. More is more.
Right. The second one was interesting. The extent to which the purchases were made together, like it was a joint decision.
Wait, really? So surprising my partner with, say, a meal kit subscription isn't as good as deciding on it together, even if it saves them time.
The data suggests making it a mutual, agreed-upon thing is more effective. It seems to reinforce this idea that you're managing your shared life, your shared resources, as a team.
Ah, okay. So it feeds back into that feeling of perceived support we were just talking about.
Exactly. If one person just kind of imposes the service, the other might feel a bit overlooked, or maybe even resent the change, you know?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
It makes the purchase less about just outsourcing a task and more about an active relationship strategy.
Wow.
What was the third characteristic?
The third was about where the time was saved. Purchases that save time within the relationship, think household chores, shared errands, that kind of thing, were more impactful than those saving time outside it, like maybe reducing commute time.
Why is that, do you think?
Probably because saving time on those shared, often contentious household tasks is really visible. It directly benefits the partnership dynamic in a way both people can see and feel immediately.
Okay, that brings us to chores. Always a fun topic in relationships. If buying time helps tackle chores, does it actually change how couples talk about them?
It does, but it's complicated. And the sources talk about something called a gain spiral, which came out of study
A
6.
gain spiral sounds positive.
Mostly. They found that having these time-saving services allowed couples to actually talk more often and more proactively about dividing up the remaining household tasks. And that led to more positive mood, better satisfaction.
Okay, so far so good.
But, and this is the nuance, talking more about chores also predicted an increase in something called chore rumination.
Chore rumination, what exactly is that? Is it just like mentally replaying the argument about whose turn it is to clean the bathroom?
Pretty much, yeah. It's that tendency to dwell on, worry about, or sort of mentally chew over the demands and fairness of household work, even when you're not actually doing the chore. It's a mental load, a cognitive stressor.
Huh. So buying time helps you talk about chores better, which is good, but talking about them more makes you think about them more, which is less good. Sounds like it could cancel out.
That's the tension they found. But here's the key takeaway. The net result was still positive. The benefits of the quality time you gained, the positive mood from proactive planning, that outweigh the negative drag from the rumination.
Okay, so buying time still comes out ahead overall.
It seems so, but it's a good reminder that it doesn't just magically erase all the mental load associated with running a household.
Right. Now let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about managing resources, buying time. Let's talk about communication, specifically through the lens of the love languages. This framework's been around forever, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Gary Chapman.
Decades, yeah. And it's hugely popular, but often gets kind of dismissed as maybe just pop psychology, not real science.
What are the 5 languages again? Remind us.
Sure, it's words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Basically, different ways people prefer to give and receive affection.
Okay. And you mentioned it's a practical framework, but lacked rigorous testing until recently.
That's right. But we looked at a key study, Mostova and colleagues in PLOS 1, that really started to apply proper scientific methods to test the core ideas.
And what did they find when they put love languages under the microscope? Did it hold up?
The main finding, the really significant one, was all about alignment.
Alignment, meaning?
Meaning, it's not about you and your partner happening to have the same love language. What matters is whether you understand your partner's preferred language, how they feel loved, and whether you actually act on that understanding. When that alignment happens, both overall relationship satisfaction and sexual satisfaction get a significant boost.
Ah, okay. So it's about learning to speak their language, even if it's not your natural default. Like, if my partner values acts of service, Me doing the dishes might mean more than giving them a gift, even if gifts is my language.
That's exactly it. That alignment, that effort, it fosters the sense of mutual understanding and responsiveness. It signals, I see you, I hear you, your needs matter to me.
And that improves the dynamic.
Hugely. And interestingly, the researchers suggested this mechanism, understanding and responding to needs, isn't just for romance. It likely improves interactions with friends, family, even colleagues. Better social cohesion overall.
Okay, this is where it all starts to click together, isn't it? We've got strategic resource management on one side and this communication framework on the other.
Exactly. There's a really clear overlap. Think about it. Those time-saving purchases we talked about, they directly enable or enhance two of the love languages.
Which ones?
Quality time, obviously, by freeing up the hours, and acts of service by reducing the burden of those tasks.
Right. So the money buys the opportunity.
The money buys the opportunity for quality time or lessens the need for certain acts of service. But the love languages science shows that to really capitalize on that opportunity, you need the alignment. The investment only really pays off if your partner feels seen, supported, valued in the way they understand it.
That makes perfect sense. It connects the dots beautifully. Now, diving into some of the maybe more complex findings, the sources mentioned dyadic studies, where they survey both partners.
Yes, and those revealed some really fascinating asymmetries, particularly around gender in terms of who benefits most from these time-saving buys, at least in the heterosexual dual-income couples they primarily studied.
Okay, tell us about those gender nuances. What did they find?
Well, get this. When women made time-saving purchases, didn't matter if it was technically for themselves or for their partner, it predicted higher relationship satisfaction for both of them.
For both. So, if the wife arranges for grocery delivery, both she and her husband tend to report feeling better about the relationship. Why would that be?
The interpretation is that often in these dynamics, even in dual income households, the woman might still be shouldering a disproportionate amount of the household management burden, the mental load. So when that burden is eased by a purchase she initiates,
It benefits the whole system.
kinda, yeah. It seems to improve the emotional stability of the partnership. The man benefits possibly because his partner is less stressed, and maybe the freed up time feels more like genuine mutual support because it tackles a load she was carrying.
Okay, interesting. What about when the men initiated the purchases? Same spillover effect.
Not quite. It was more limited. When a man bought a time-saving service primarily intended to help his female partner, say, he signed them up for a cleaning service. He reported higher relationship satisfaction for himself. He felt good about contributing, presumably. But crucially, his female partner didn't report a similar significant increase in her own satisfaction.
Wow, that's a stark difference. So he feels like he's made this grand gesture, but she maybe sees it as just necessary task delegation.
That could be part of it. It really highlights potentially different perceptions of what constitutes meaningful support versus just, managing tasks. It suggests just throwing money at the problem isn't the whole solution.
Right. The action needs to land correctly, be perceived as genuine aligned support, maybe needs to be part of a bigger conversation about sharing the load.
Exactly. It points towards the importance of that shared emotional labor piece.
So these studies offer some powerful insights. But like all research, there are limitations, right? What do we need to keep in mind?
Absolutely. More research is definitely needed. For the love languages stuff, we really need more longitudinal studies to firmly establish causality over time. And the samples need broadening. Well, the main love languages study we discussed was limited to heterosexual couples. We need to see if these findings hold across diverse relationship types and orientations. Plus, how does all this play out in the digital age? How does texting or social media affect how we express these languages? Lots to explore there.
And one last point on future directions, maximizing the benefit.
Yeah, there's a really interesting question about additive effects. We focused on time-saving purchases, but what happens if you combine that? What if you use the time you bought back specifically for an experiential purchase together, using that free evening to try a new restaurant or go to a concert? Could that create an even bigger positive spiral?
Combining buying time with buying experiences. Interesting idea.
Definitely worth exploring.
Okay, this has been a fascinating deep dive. I think the big takeaway here is that relationship satisfaction isn't just some, mysterious internal skill. It's actually influenced by very practical things.
Like strategic resource management, using money smartly to buy back time.
And then applying the right communication strategy, understanding and speaking your partner's love language to make sure that time actually strengthens the connection.
Yeah, it's about being proactive and clear. at the end of the day.
Which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. The data suggested time-saving purchases work best as a buffer when stress is already high. So here's the question. How might you proactively invest in buying time before you hit that peak stress level? Could you turn what seems like a reactive coping tool into a regular preventative habit for relationship health?